The first trade that's supposed to go through a new construction home is plumbing, and that is because of gravity. Water only drains one way, and there's only so many ways you can route those pipes to make that happen. So although one of my first priorities was getting our radiant floor system set up so we could have some heat in here, my second is drain plumbing, and we're gonna get started on that right now. This is the back of our downstairs bath wall and also shared by your utility room. This is essentially the core of our plumbing system. Right here is our main plumbing stack. That's gonna go all the way up through the roof. We have a 2-inch drain for the sink that's sitting here. Clean out at the end of the line. Our radon is over there. That just goes beneath the slab all the way to the roof. And then I have a toilet stack here. So all that was basically set during my under slab plumbing video. If you haven't seen that, check that one out. But now we're working everything from there up. Before I started, I threw together this quick PowerPoint plan of our drain system to run by our inspector. I was able to stick to this except for that upstairs lavatory. I was not able to vent that directly to the main stack because our radon pipe was in the way. So that will also get an air admittance valve. You can basically see all the plumbing in this house just from standing in the bathroom here. The holes right here are basically where my main stack's gonna come through. I've already drilled the holes. Right above us is, of course, another bathroom. That right there is our shower drain. It's a center drain for the shower. Coming over this way, you can actually already see it installed. I have my toilet flange there. That's just sitting in there for now. Like I mentioned earlier, the radon pipe is what's in the wall over there. And then finally, that hole right there is for our vanity sink drain. The only kitchen drain plumbing will be a kitchen sink way over against that wall. And luckily, I planned for that during our foundation. This makes this a lot easier. I put a drain there, and that goes underground to connect to the rest of the system. So that pipe basically just has to come all the way up through this very sloppily drilled hole here, and then down that joist bay all the way to the kitchen sink. One thing you'll notice is that my floor joist spacing is a little bit wonky in this area, and that is on purpose. The nice thing about being your own plumber and framer is that you can modify your floor joist spacing to accommodate the toilet. So that's exactly what that is. I shifted this joist over to accommodate that toilet. This joist got shifted left so that it was on the inside of this wall here, and the wall space was clear for pipes to run up through. As you can tell by that hole in the subfloor up there, the bathroom wall upstairs falls directly in line with this wall here, so all the pipes can run through. Stacking walls is just a good design practice. Now, something that's gonna save me a lot of work in this plumbing rough-in are these little guys. If you're not familiar, this is called an air admittance valve, and basically it is a mechanical vent. Now, you can only use them, of course, if you have a traditional stack that goes all the way up through your roof, so sewer gas can't push its way up through these things and get into your living space. But they're completely approved if you do have that. So in many of my plumbing situations, it is not convenient to vent with the traditional pipe up through the attic and connect it all back up before it goes to the roof. An example would be our dormer kitchen sink. It's got a giant window above it, and it is so far away from the rest of the plumbing. Okay, so the first thing coming up from my stack is gonna be my 2 sanitary tees for my bathroom sink and my laundry machine to tie in. They can basically be arbitrary, so might as well put it somewhere I can work easily, fairly anyway. Gotta get this plug out. This was my pressure plug. It's been in here so long, it doesn't want to come out. There we go, come on. Crap. Might as well glue this first fitting on. Just a straight coupler. Make sure all my joints are nice and clean because we are going to be pressure testing this with water afterwards, and a blowout at this level would not be fun. That would be a lot of water. I really try to work the primer and the glue into the pipe for a little bit before gluing, just to give it a little bit of extra chance, let its chemical reaction work. These big fittings tend to push out if you don't hold them in right after you glue them too. Now I can measure my rough pipe length. Don't forget to account for engagement depth, although right here it's really not that critical. So I'm gonna cut about a 51-inch pipe for that. We'll start there. I like to try to do as much gluing in a comfortable position as I possibly can. Most of plumbing is not in comfortable positions. So here's one of the many puzzles of plumbing that you run into. Not only how these fittings are assembled, but decisions like, should you make this the straight run from the toilet and then put a jog in this 2-inch line going to the shower. Problem there is we got these two joists in the way. So it might be a little bit tough to figure out where that 45 or 22.5 or whatever actually goes, whereas with this toilet, we're wide open. I also have to be thinking about my heights because both of these drains need at least 1/4 inch per foot. So again, I have marked my full insertion depth. You can't get the fitting like that dry all the way down, so you have to keep in mind this fitting's gonna sink when it actually gets glued on. And then I have to be putting the outlets of these two fittings 1/4 inch per foot higher. The outlet of this guy has got to be 1/2 inch higher than that inlet right there. For now, I'm going to keep this loose so that I can twist it and maneuver it as needed and until I get this pipe glued up. This order of operations is also so critical with plumbing because you can really box yourself in by gluing something prematurely or not in the right order. And so you kind of have to always be thinking about how you're going to maneuver these fittings to glue it next. So I got to make sure I have up and down movement for that. These holes in these joists have to be able to accommodate that amount of movement. Same thing here with this toilet. I'm going to probably have a 22.5, so I'll have a straight, and then a 22.5 to bring me to there. But I got to remember, I don't want to glue that until very last because I need to be able to maneuver this 90 here up and down as I'm getting the final slope on this pipe. My laser really doesn't like me for this because I'm holding it at an angle that's not level, but this is a good technique for getting my run straight so I can plan the exact hole locations in that joist that's going to give me a straight run from the shower to this stack here. Check this setup out. Had to reuse one of my camera tripods, but that baby is dead on. Now look at that, it's even projecting the lines up on my joist. So I know exactly where I need to cut. Well, kind of. I still need to figure out the vertical location, but this makes that a lot easier. I'll scribe pencil lines on there, so I have that for reference. You can actually bore some really large holes through this eye joist with no major structural integrity damage. The key is never cut the flanges, because those are what holds a lot of the load. Jeez Louise. Nothing like face full of sawdust at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. Oh, my light finally gave up. That was like 10 minutes of runtime on this light with a 5 amp hour battery. What in the world did I pay all this money for, DeWalt? I got my trap here, and if I'm lucky, I can get this all in one pipe. The more couplings you use, the more apprentice-like you look. So I'm gonna try to do this as efficiently as I possibly can. If I cut this to 14 inches, I'll be good. One slightly oval-shaped hole later, she goes right in. Look at that. So there it is, dry fit, and check this out, you won't believe it. The edge of my bubble is almost right on the 1/4 inch per foot line, and it will get there once I fully seat the big fitting. Let's go. Okay, I just glued all these fittings up, so that's all fixed. I mocked this guy up, and I think the 22.5 will do it. It was a little bit tricky because it wasn't quite off that much. Just like maybe 10 degrees would have been the perfect fitting for that, but I think we can get it to work. But before we do that and crowd the space up too much, I'm gonna go up, I'm gonna finish that stack because these are the last connections into the stack. It's just gotta go straight up, make a 45 jog and go through the roof, and then I'll worry about finishing these connections. I might actually do this toilet last so I don't crowd this whole space up and I can work because I gotta bring pipes down through both of these stud bays here. Wow, does not get a whole lot better than that right there. Don't drop something down there. There's my shower rough-in. I'll be able to cut that off to length when I need to. So this pipe has got to come straight up here, come through this stud at a 45, and then continue on up through the roof. My lone DeWalt clamp up there has been holding that since September, since we got our roof on in preparation. And I've had a bucket under here because, as you can see, that's just straight daylight up there. So this bucket full of sawdust has been my rain catcher under this area. So I got this pipe glued in, and it was sort of an arbitrary length, and I figured, for some reason in my head, I had it pictured that the jog over should just be up towards the top. Don't really know why, but after I bored that hole in there, and I'm cutting it even larger to get the 45 in there, I realized that this is right about the spot that I'm going to need a shower niche. And so I'm gonna have to put horizontal tube eyes in here, and this pipe is gonna make that kind of a pain. So I think I'm gonna have to patch that hole up and do the jog like down here where it's not going to get in the way of any sort of shower niche. This is just one of the many plumbing lessons I feel like I'm gonna learn through this project after everything's all glued together. Do not drop my deburring handle down here, that would be bad. Take 2 on the gigantic hole. Oh shit, my drill's smoking. We don't burn it out. This glue's enough to make you want to pass out sometimes. Now I already made a mark on this to be able to line myself up right here so that I know that this is pointing straight up. Just a little sanity check, not like there's that much I can do about it now anyway, but I think we're good. Now luckily that guy up there is in a rubber flexible boot on the roof, so it has a little bit of upwards and downwards play, and that's how I'm gonna get this full length pipe in here. So I'm just gonna take a measurement between these 2 flanges. I'll add 3 inches for our pipe engagement depth, and then I might have to adjust it a little bit because I don't have a ton of room to play before that collar hits that top plate. This thing turned out to be a lot less flexible than I thought it was gonna be, so I'm just gonna have to knock it up here with a hammer and then cut the pipe like 1 inch short and then get up on the roof to do the final push down onto the glued connection. I'll probably need Elena's help for that to glue it in here, but this is the best way I can think of doing it, honestly, without some sort of repair coupling or slip coupling or something like that. Wow, that thing is in there. What the heck? You can see why I really didn't want to tie all the vents into this in the attic, because I have about probably not even a foot of space here and it's way up in these rafters. I just did not want to deal with trying to snake all the pipes back and around to this location up here. So thank goodness for air admittance valves. Before I put this pipe in, I'm also going to patch this hole up with a couple of scraps of 2x6 on either side of it. Now that I have 2 massive holes bored in this stud, it has almost 0 strength. But luckily, nothing in this house, and the interior walls anyway, are load bearing because we have the structural ridge beam roof up there. Only the exterior walls are load bearing, and then that structural ridge, of course. Got the pipe cut. On second thought, I'm gonna glue that joint up there first. That way, when we do this one down here, it's way more easily accessible because it's at the ground. And I might not have to get on the roof if we can grab a hold enough of this to push it down from here. Unfortunately, that was not the case, and I had to stomp on the pipe from the roof while my friend Shane glued it up from below. My sunglasses and my safety glasses on at the same time. I'm double protected. All right, I'm working on the vanity sink right now, which is right here above me. I've got this little stub just clamped up there holding for now. And I wanted to eyeball what my clearances look like down here. This is another beauty of the laser level and why it's my favorite tool for plumbing. At the main stack, I've got this piece of 3-inch sticking out just to mock up where my toilet's gonna come down and connect so I don't interfere with that. And then again, this is my radon pipe right here. So what I was wondering is whether this elbow and this run of pipe was going to hit my radon pipe. And honestly, eyeballing it, I can honestly not really tell. It is so close. But let's see what the laser level says. I can kiss it up against the side of this guy right here and rotate it to where it hits the other end, and I can tell that it's not going to hit my pipe just by about a ½ inch. I mean, it's close. It's really close, but it's gonna miss. So knowing that, I can just pull a tape from one fitting to the other to get my pipe length, straight run, super easy. You don't have to worry about putting in a 22.5 or some other angled fitting to get around that pipe. And that's the beauty of the laser. I mocked up that sink pipe, everything fit great. I actually had like 1 inch of clearance next to that radon pipe. Got that glued here on the ground, got this leg glued in, and then I'm gonna connect them right up at the top there. Then onto the wash machine, which is gonna come down just like this, finish this toilet run out, and then finish with the lone kitchen run that will come up and down those joists there. The bathroom sink line is all glued in. Got a brace up there holding it at the 1/4 inch per foot slope. And then down here I have another brace making sure it's the same. Of course, on the last screw on this brace, I ran the bit right into my finger, which really doesn't feel great right now. But as the saying goes, plumbing waits for no one. And I am on to the washing machine drain. Welcome to the laundry nook. There's just enough space in here for a front load washer dryer. And laundry plumbing, I feel like is a little bit trickier because there's a lot of strange rules around it. So I sort of dry cut everything and I'm mocking it up. I got it clamped to the wall right now. Our situation's a little bit weird because I'm gonna have a 2-foot tall platform that our washer and dryer are gonna sit on. That'll allow us to have much more ergonomic height for loading and unloading, and also have drawers that slide out. I'm actually gonna have a platform to slide out on top to set laundry baskets on, and then drawers underneath that for storage. So when I say laundry plumbing is a little bit weird, what I mean is there's specified distances that the trap has to be above the floor and the height of the standpipe. The trap's gotta be within 6 to 18 inches off the rough floor here. So I marked that here. I also marked my platform height, which is 24 inches. And then the standpipe's got to be between 18 and 30 inches. So for me, I want it as tall as possible because of this 24-inch platform. So I just cut this pipe to 30 inches. You'll also notice this second box here, which is not another drain. It's where my vent goes in. This air admittance valve will screw into this. And Odie has this nice finished wall plate that'll go over this. You have to have access to this. That's one of the code requirements. So if you're gonna use it, you gotta have a wall plate or an access door of some sort. And this is a whole lot easier for me than running real vents all the way up to that little nook that you saw where my stack penetrates the roof. As long as I have this AAV here, have access to it, this thing's gonna vent just fine. I'm not sure if this is just me being anal, but I like to recess these in here so that when the drywall goes on, there's not a hump there. Let me know if that's just overkill, but I think it's a good idea. I cannot catch a break tonight. The job site, not being kind to me. Just bumped my head off this stupid plastic box that I just mounted. I'm not even rushing or anything. I don't even get it. 2 boo-boos, 1 night. Finger and then head. Get it together, Alex. Thanks to my laser, it was easy to mark my run from where that pipe comes through the top plate there, all the way over here. There's where that washer pipe comes through the floor, and it's gonna run back along this joist until it takes a 90-degree turn right through this hole. Now, as far as finding the height of this hole, I measured to the bottom of that pipe flange that you just saw, and it was right about 7 inches. So I know that this is about 5.5, almost 6 feet away from that, and I gotta drop it at 1/4 inch per foot. So this hole needs to be 1.5 inches lower than the outlet of that 90. So all I had to do is measure up from the bottom edge of this joist, 5.5 inches. That's gonna be the bottom edge of my hole, which I almost started drilling there. And then I realized that I needed to make that the bottom edge of the hole, and that's actually where I'm gonna be drilling. Just barely made it on this little battery. These floor joists are 16 inches on center, so 1 1/3 foot. So that means for every 16 inches, I gotta drop 1/4 times 1/3 foot. So it's gonna be about 3/8 of an inch is what I'm gonna round up to. So every hole in every joist is gonna be 3/8 lower than the next. And hopefully, if I'm lucky, I can slide a full-length pipe all the way to this joint from the other end there, because it's gonna be coming up at a slope. I think I can do it. I'm really hoping so. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to use a bunch of couplers. I really don't wanna do that. 7 minus 3/8, so 6 5/8. Who would have thought you'd use so much math in construction? Honestly, the most applicable use of math I've ever had, honestly, it's been this whole project. Figuring out material estimates, that sort of thing. It's amazing how much just basic math is required in construction. Differential equations, not so much. OSHA approved scaffold maneuvering. Take a gander at that. That right there is a beautiful thing. Now the real question is whether I can snake a pipe up in there and underneath these joists at an angle, so I can run the long end of the pipe out here to start and then push it up through. There's a chance that I'm gonna have to egg this first, maybe second hole out too, just a little bit with the jigsaw at the bottom to make that happen, but I think we can do it. This is something I always wondered about in plumbing, how plumbers get perpendicular to the joist. Oh my gosh. It still doesn't want to go. Close. Please go. Ah. Might still have to take more out of the bottom of this guy. Just can't get it. Just too stiff. Alrighty, let's try this again. Alright, I'm a noob. I'm gonna use a coupler. Well, that was kind of cool. All right, we're on to the kitchen run now. This one should be fairly easy compared to all the rest. There's just a few things we got to keep in mind. First being that we hang this 90-degree elbow at the right height so that with our 1/4 inch per foot slope, we got about a 20-foot run until we hit our center wall with our downwards pipe in it. We need to make sure that that 20 foot at a 1/4 inch per foot doesn't end up with our pipe beneath our ceiling level. So 20 feet at a 1/4 inch per foot, 20 quarters or 5 inches. So I got to make sure that the outlet of this pipe has at least 5 inches to drop before we get to the 90 over there. So we have sink drain here, rough and plumbing here to give us room for that trap. And we will have to snake underneath the floor joists with the rough plumbing, but that's okay. So we'll be coming through the subfloor right there where we drilled, but the actual run where we have to run the pipe is on this side. So we're gonna do our 90 and angle it at like a 45 angle, come through this and then take a 45 to come straight back parallel with this joist here. I decided to drill over here because our sink is going to be a side drain sink. The drain's going to be on this side. It's going to have a garbage disposal hanging off of it and then a trap coming off that. So I need to have appropriate distance between the exit of that trap and this hole here. And so that's why we're going to have to come through. It's not that big of a deal, but just a little bit more work now. Clamp that thing just right up against the floor so it can't pull out. Now we can easily rotate it where we need it. I think we'll basically be able to glue this next piece on here too. This little guy I'm just going to leave loose until we get our other pipe established. Okay. At the right slope. Honestly, I probably could guesstimate it. That's what a real plumber would do. And then bend the pipe to the right slope, but I don't like that. All right, we're moving right along. Got this whole end of the run done. It's all fastened and strapped up to the joist there. Shane's working on gluing the coupler on. Quick, Shane, name a plumbing fact that you learned today.
Need a 1/4 inch of slope per foot.
1/4 inch slope per foot is the magic rule. We'll take it. All we need left is one pipe that's gonna come to where this hole is. They're gonna have a 90 fitting on that and then drop it down here. I have a little clean out, sort of clean out tee here, I guess. I'm gonna have the threaded plug that goes in there, which I don't have on me right now, but that's all we should need. These spider bits really don't do so well with nails. So I definitely wanna feel around and make sure there's no nails in this top plate anywhere before I drill this. Yeah, so I drilled around the nail, literally the nail's inside the core plug, and it's holding the plug in. I've never been in this situation before. Guess the Amish guys decided to nail my midspan blocking down into the top plate. Not a bad idea, I guess. But this particular location is just no good. I imagine real plumbers have to deal with this kind of crap all the time. Yep, there is the perpetrator right through that center blocking. Excuse this extremely ugly hole. We did that with a jigsaw when it was framing time and we didn't have a hole saw at the time. Laying this sill plate out, I might have to put some metal strapping on either side to stiffen that up because that is obviously a larger hole than we need. Pro tip, do not try to put a hole through a 2x with a jigsaw. You will not get a straight hole. Okay, flange to flange, we're gonna go 90 and 7/8. Plus our engagement depth, which is 3/4 inches per pipe. The 90 and 7/8 plus 1.5 inches is 92 and 3/8, yep. 91 and 7/8 plus 4/8. Yeah. Yep, okay, I got it up over the T. We finished up the last of the kitchen run, then moved on to the toilet stack, but didn't get any of that on film. Stay tuned for when we pressure test.